everybody. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get in here. Welcome. My name is Laura. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Laura. I write under the pen name Lorelai Author. And this is a launch video or author signing for Murder of Crows, The Winged Fox by Lorelai. So let's get this here with enough lighting. So this has been available for pre-order for like a month on Amazon, so you can already pick it up, but it did go live today, and The Winged Fox is book 3 in the Murder of Crows series, which is a fantasy, somewhat romantasy series set by Lake Michigan. So I'm going to do some readings today, and I apologize, I am brand new to using Facebook Live, so if I miss your comments, I will check from time to time just to see if I can keep track. But this is the first book signing I've done under this pen name, so I will feel very lucky if anybody remembers to show up. But I was actually really inspired to do this event because despite kind of getting stuck at home with a chronic illness in recent years, I saw some documentary about a woman who bought an old opera house, I guess that you'd call it, out west in like a ghost town. And anytime people came through the town, she would be performing on a Sunday evening. No matter, well, actually, whether anybody showed up or not. That's what was so inspiring. So she even painted the audience on like the walls of the audience in the auditorium, and eventually became really popular because people knew that if they were coming through on a Sunday, she'd be there doing ballet or whatever it was she does. So I kind of needed that inspiration. It's kind of hard for me to do things on a specific schedule with my health. So super excited to have y'all here though. So I'm going to do a few readings, and then don't forget to get your entries in for the book giveaway. Giving away a copy of The Winged Fox, and then if we have entries for it yet, also going to be giving away a copy of an upcoming poetry collection, the Lighthouse stuff that I mentioned on IG and YouTube. So, also introduce yourself, say hi when you get in the chat. I'd love to know who's here. I see we have a couple viewers. Still not seeing anything in the chat. But anyway, yeah, feel free to say hi, drop socials to follow, tell me a little bit about how you found this or what your favorite thing is in the fantasy genre, like trope-wise or book-wise, author-wise. I'd love to hear about it. Okay, so Murder of Crows, The Winged Fox follows a series where we start out in a small town in West Michigan called Fayetteville, and all kinds of bizarre stuff happens where adults have like apparently sold children out to a magician for eternal life, and it does not end well. But over the next couple of books, we're following different characters in different layers of dimensions of the same space. So like we're in the same location in Michigan, near Lake Michigan, but we're in a different dimension of reality. And we start to see that there are dimensional twins. The main character of The Winged Fox is named Solange, and her dimensional twin is named Clarissa. And they both come from different versions of the city of Muskegon, which is where I recently was able to get a lake house. It's not right on the lake, but it's really close to Muskegon Lake and Lake Michigan. And when we moved in, I realized we were really close to several World War II battleships or submarines that had been turned into museums. And I was already working on this book, but it really inspired me to set the book more in Muskegon because I thought it was really, really fascinating that if you were to go through different times of Muskegon's history, or, you know, in the fantasy world, maybe different dimensions of the same reality, you would not only find very different industry, like Muskegon has a history as a lumber mill town, followed by World War II bullets and tank engines, I believe, and a whole bunch of furniture manufacturing. If you have old mid-century office furniture, it very likely comes from a factory right across from our Airbnb, which we called Silversides house after one of the nearby submarines. So anyway, you can kind of see that in The Winged Fox, that we're not really writing about Muskegon. I've got another series coming up that'll be a little bit more like consciously set in modern and Victorian Muskegon back and forth. But this one, you get the name Muskegon, you get like different types of ships coming in and out of port, like old rigged, sailing ships that are shipwrecked there versus newer boats and stuff. But it can be a little hard to tell exactly where we are because it's such a wild universe. So anyway, I'm going to read from chapter 4, where we have reunited Solange with her boyfriend, Kung, who is from book 2, when the dimensions of reality started bumping into each other in that area by Lake Michigan and Muskegon and Fayetteville. They some creatures who are evolved humans that are more like sea creatures now bled through one of the dimensional cracks in reality, and things went wrong. But these two really love each other, so it's kind of forbidden romance, but it's not really focused on that. Okay, so they have been reunited from him being stuck in the underworld. Solange reached up and kissed Kung again. His tongue was warm and strong, exploring her mouth as if it were the last day they would ever see each other. Her heart broke a little for him. He was a man without a country now. He only had her, just like she just had him. "I love you," he whispered against her lips, his voice rough with emotion. He squeezed her tight, his powerful arms encircling her. She pulled back slightly to look into his luminous eyes. "You do," she managed, the words catching in her throat. Fragile truth she needed to hear. He nodded, a silent promise. "I missed you so much," she confessed, tracing the line of his jaw. "I'm so sorry I left you alone for so long. I tried so hard to reach you. I rearranged the very map of the multiverse, but..." Kung wrapped his arms around her shoulders and pulled her to him, cutting off her self-recrimination. "Never again am I letting you get away," he vowed. "We stay in the same dimension from now on, no matter what happens. We fix this together." She smiled. "It feels so selfish to say this, but I agree," she whispered. "I'm never letting go of you again." He sighed. Oh, by the way, guys, let me know if you can hear me or if there's any issues. I'm still not seeing a lot in the chat except for some hellos. Hello, everybody. Hello, Lorelai. Hello, Laurel. Oh, everybody with my name showed up. That's awesome. Hi, guys. All right. Excuse me. Just want to make sure everybody can hear and isn't sending me messages like, "We can't hear you." Okay. She smiled. "It feels so selfish to say this, but I agree," she whispered. "I'm never letting go of you again." He gently placed her head on his chest, which pulsed with that familiar warm light, a steady beacon of his power. "So glad I found you," he murmured, his breath stirring her hair. "What if I hadn't? What if the connection had failed?" She shook her head. "Let's not even think of that," she said, unwilling to entertain the possibility. "The truth is," he said, tightening his embrace, "if my queen hadn't attacked your world, I never would have met you. I don't know how to feel about that. You've lost everything because of her." "I thought that way about you too," she countered softly. "You're the one who lost everything. Your home, your queen's favor to save me. Where could you go but stay with me? I feel like I trapped you here with nowhere to go home to." "Princess," he said, his fingers gently smoothing her hair out of her face, his eyes softening. "I am home. Wherever you are, that is home." A fresh wave of tears stung her eyes, but she swallowed them back, refusing to be openly sad in front of him again. "I love you too," she choked out, the admission raw and heartfelt. "I do." He took in the familiar scent of her hair with a deep breath of contentment and sighed. "I just want to stay here with you," he said. "Tell me what work you're doing from this library. Show me everything." She nodded. "It's a long story, but I will show you around," she said. "I should go check on my mother." He pulled her back into a hug and kissed her deeply again. Just a moment, he said, in case we don't get another moment like this, just stay with me for a bit. She hesitated, then sank into his arms again. Okay, she said. His lips were surprisingly soft, though she could tell he was being extra gentle with her due to their difference in size. He was built different, just bigger and stronger than her slender limbs. For a moment, she wondered if they even could have children and what they would look like. That led to another thought. Do you think, she said, cradling his face in her hand, that if we mated, we could open another doorway using our energy combined? Her cheeks turned crimson. His eyes widened. Yes, he said. He kissed her. You don't mind how different we are as subspecies of human? He asked quietly. She stuttered, but shook her head. Love is love in a world that won't stop changing, she said. And I think maybe we're not so different, especially in the way we think. Bless your loving heart, he said. He grabbed her face and pulled it to his, pulling her down onto the deck in the process. My mother, Solange said through his kisses. Don't worry, Clarissa said through the walls, into her mind. I will put her to bed for now and rest downstairs. You spend some time. The library doors, as if by conscious will, subtly shifted to locked. A thick canopy of impossibly deep green, interwoven with glowing silver threads, extended silently out from the walls, draping over Solange and Kung, shielding them from any prying eyes, human or otherwise. The last thing Solange remembered, before fully losing herself in the enveloping waters of loving Kung, was his heart, glowing so brightly, so powerfully, that its pure brightness enveloped her whole body, pressing her close. A vibrant thought resonated through her mind, a resonance of Kung's own deepest feelings. I want you to know, your heart is what drew me to your dimension, your kindness and open energy. You are the thirst of my people, the hunger of every humanoid heart. You are clear skies over Lake Michigan on a full moon, the footsteps of birds on snow-dusted branches, on cliffs overlooking a freshwater ocean. You are warmth in the caves during the raging storm. You are my one great love. So what happens after this point is they open a portal with their energy combined. So even though I say it's kind of romantasy, that's probably one of the more romantic scenes in the book. So most of the book, if you're just joining us, this is Murder of Crows, The Winged Fox by Lorelai, launches on Amazon today, September 30th. Lost my train of thought. Oh, what happens for most of the book is they are trying to open up portals or find new ways of traveling between dimensions of reality, because at the end of book 2 they had to lock the doorways between dimensions with some magic in order to prevent reality from collapsing. So this book still has the freezing fog encroaching on them. It still has Kung's queen, the sea queen, trying to suck the life out of everybody under Lake Michigan and trapping souls and sucking them underground. But we've got different dimensions of the same space and different characters. So we've got 3 witches. Solange takes Clarissa's place in her dimension and kind of goes on an undercover mission to figure out what's happening with the fog. And so Solange is one of the witches, and then 2 girls from Clarissa's dimension, Darcy and Annie, are the others. And they take us through what I would call shamanic reality, kind of upper world, middle world, which is like Earth, and the lower world. And so the upper world isn't like heaven exactly, but it's got like a lot of ascended masters and wisdom, and is a little bit angelic looking, very light, and it's related to the future. The underworld isn't evil, it's just dark, earthy, kind of creepy crawly, and very much related to the past. So in book 3, we end up with these characters running around trying to repair the past so they can repair the future. And as usual, nothing goes to plan. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a book. Sorry, guys. Um, but what happens to Solange's mother is that she gets trapped under Lake Michigan and is so far gone when they finally rescue her by combining their energy and opening a portal to bring her through. She loses her ability to speak. She becomes sort of one of the slow victims of the Sea Queen, while Solange's father is off in another dimension trying to make safe space for all the nature spirits in case the end of the world comes, and he's basically creating like a apocalyptic seed bank, but magical. So let's do, well, actually, let me check in with you guys. I've got hello, everybody. Okay. If you guys don't mind, introduce yourselves and tell me how you found this event. If I, you got an invite versus seeing it somewhere, that would help me out so I know how to advertise these in the future. And also, let me know a little bit about you. Like, what's your favorite fantasy book? What's your favorite trope? What's your favorite type of plot within fantasy? Also, I'm going to be doing some Lake Michigan nature writing coming up, and there's sort of a crossover. Like, this collection I'm going to read out of a little bit, Silversides, Nature Poems from Michigan. I'm writing it under my real name, Laura K. Cowan, that I used to publish Magical Realism under, because it has some stuff about my own family history in Michigan that doesn't make any sense to publish under the fantasy pseudonym Lorelai. But it's like a crossover between nature writing and kind of local history. And then the next poetry collection I'm doing, Storm Songs, is like a cross between that and The Winged Fox. It's like paranormal, but it's poetry. So I wrote poems based on all kinds of legends, ghost stories, haunted lighthouse, urban myths, and things like that. Cryptids a little bit, but it's more haunted lighthouses from Michigan and the Great Lakes. So I'm kind of curious what everybody likes the best, since I'm kind of in several spaces there. So let me know what you like. All right. Oh, also, it's not too late to enter to win a copy of The Winged Fox and a copy of Storm Songs, the paranormal haunted lighthouse poetry thing. Though if you'd rather have this one, just let me know, because it comes out November 1st, and I'm not sure yet if I can get Storm Songs out by Halloween or if it's going to have to wait. So let me know. Just leave me a comment and make sure that you follow the Lorelai Author page here, and just let me know which one, I guess, that you're interested in, and I will pick a winner. Okay, so we are revisiting Murder of Crows, The Winged Fox, in chapter 12, which is when Helen, the mother, who is trapped under Lake Michigan, starts to wake up and speak. This also shows that, well, I'll just read it to you. It shows that Clarissa and Solange are not quite the same person. Helen is awake and starting to speak. Kung told Clarissa, "We should find Solange." "I trust Solange," she said, shaking her head. "If this were me, and it nearly is me, I would go undercover to find a way to stop the Sea Queen," she said. "We shouldn't break her cover yet." "What is she supposed to do on her own to save the whole multiverse?" Kung shouted. "Don't yell at me, you overgrown lizard," Clarissa snapped. "Sorry," he said. I miss her so much." Clarissa sighed. "I know," she said. "I would miss her more too if we weren't the same person." She smiled and jabbed his ribs, but Kung didn't crack more than a thin smile. "You should go to her then," Clarissa said. "Maybe Solange does need help, and she would love to hear her mother is awake. Go into the books and see if you can find a pathway. What about the way we came in?" "Too obvious," he said, pacing. He grabbed a blank book off a shelf and went to the lectern to write. "Wait," he said, "I have an idea." He took a pen and he wrote down a list of the new creatures Solange had created in the woods. The Vrock, Hezru, the new ladybug species. Slowly his brain slowed from its racing panic, and a pathway began to form in his mind. He wrote a narrative connecting all these creatures in a line across the Lake of the Clouds. He jumped from one mind to the next as a protrusion, then teetered over the edge of a cliff after jumping out of the Vrock, who had flown to a far ridge overlooking the woods between Lake of the Clouds and Lake Superior. There was a dead one below on the forest floor. His body was still twitching. A thick white web wrapped around the man's legs. Kung retched and looked away, but it was now or never. He jumped. Down into the dead one he lodged himself in the dying human's mind, like a virus. The strips of webbing tugged the body under the ground. Kung held his breath as they went down. The webbing pulled the man's body, with Kung inside his mind, down into a cave. There the body was dropped through a well cut sharply into the rock floor. Down, down into the darkness they went. Kung could have breathed, but he didn't. This was his one chance to reach her. The man's body surfaced at a cave entrance at the outflow of the underground river they had traveled through. His limp corpse flopped over on his face and he bit gravel, losing several teeth. Kung sighed. Hurry up, you wicked thing, he whispered to the web. Get me to the center of Queen Mall's lair. Kelp leapt out of the water. The body lurched back, pulled under the waves of Lake Superior by the ankles. Now they were traveling more quickly, cruising toward a shadow in the distance just a mile or two offshore. The shadow was a ship with old-fashioned sails. They flopped onto the deck in the soggy body casing, submerged just a few feet under the lake's surface. The boat rocked back and forth. Wood creaked, attracting the attention of shadowy figures in the water. The seaweed anchored itself to the deck. The boat tugged downward. They were in the center of a hinge, which opened like a trap door in the sand. They passed down into the brine pool, where they floated for a moment before sinking again, down into the murky darkness. Seaweed tangled around the dead man's limbs. Kung was back in the Lake of Lost Souls, locked inside a corpse. Brilliant plan. He had guessed correctly where the corpses were going, but now what? In the dim distance, bodies swayed in the current on the lake bed. A limb came loose and flowed off into the darkness, waving goodbye. These people had been down here too long. The queen would be out looking for fresh victims. Kung had never noticed before that the kelp was pulsing. It was as though the energy of the trapped souls was slowly draining into the plants. The weaker the corpse, the stronger the plant. How did that life force energy reach the queen, or the destination where she must keep that energy like a battery? Through the water, maybe? Okay. And then I wanted to show you either Jordan, the winged fox, who's a super sketchy character who says he's here to help, but clearly helps himself, or I have some journal entries that are part of the book. So I don't know if you've ever read, played Myst, the computer video game from the 1990s, where you're like walking around islands and through different portals and books to different planets, kind of like Star Wars, really. But you're going through books to travel there, and you have to figure out like who to trust and who to let out of the books, who's trapped. That was one of the ideas that inspired the library in The Winged Fox. So you can see on the cover, let's see if I can show you. There's a library back here, and spiral staircases around, and then there's constellations. Can you see that? So anytime they take one of the books and write what's called a spell song, to write like a narrative they can travel on to another dimension, the library kind of spins around like a puzzle box and the constellations rearrange. So at one point she can kind of figure out where she is based on the stars, or like whether or not there's more than one sun or moon in the sky. It gets pretty weird. You don't have to navigate it that way, I promise. But that was kind of what inspired it, is this idea of like finding all these book portals and turning them into ways of traveling, or in book 3, there's quite a bit of spying. Okay, so no other comments yet. So welcome in anybody who's new. Don't forget to leave a comment to enter to win a copy of Winged Fox, Murder of Crows, Winged Fox, book 3 in this fantasy series. Okay, so let's see. I'll do the journal entries first, and then we'll meet Jordan, who's a trip. Okay, let's see. It's 8:25. So after that, I will probably either pick a winner if anybody has entered, and do some readings from the Silversides poetry collection. And then you guys tell me, leave anything in the comment if you want to, about your favorite. Oh, should the books be read in order, says Laurel. That's a fantastic question. Thank you. You can. I would recommend it. The first one is Reverse All Tides. So I've left, I think, a comment or pinned comment in the chat with the purchase link for the Winged Fox. If you go to Amazon, you will see the whole series attached to the Winged Fox. So Reverse All Tides is book 1, White Hurricane is book 2, and then this is book 3. I think it reads better in a series because there is an arc to the whole story, but I made sure that they all read as separate stories. So every book has its own love story. Every book has its own set of characters, more or less, though book 2 and 3, there's quite a bit of overlap. Is that all I have to say about that? Oh, well, I also wanted to let you know that it's circular. So, Laurel, if you go back and read book 1 and then continue on through the end of the series, book 4, Ghosts of Detroit, is coming out probably spring of next year. At the end of Ghosts of Detroit, it's basically a circular story that kind of explains how we got in this predicament from book 1 in the first place, and there's kind of a time loop that goes around. So I think it's fantastic. But if you just want to read one of them, then I would say book 2 and 3 are closest to like a typical portal fantasy or shamanic fantasy fiction where you're going underworld, upper world, nature spirits, that kind of stuff. Book 1 has a mermaid and a sun god and like a crow spirit and somebody who opens graves and keeps raising people from the dead and a magician. So I guess you'd call it closer to paranormal, though it's all fantasy, you know, nature spirits and stuff. But they all have like superpowers, so it's a little more cozy paranormal style fantasy, urban fantasy. And then Ghost of Detroit is similar. So in the final book, if you like the vibe of like historical but modern time travel fantasy, that's kind of where that one's going. So that was probably way too much information, but I hope it answers your question. Okay, so this is one of the journal entries that happens right after what I was just reading, but it's not really the same point in time. So you get the sense of like clues about the plot from reading the journal entries as you go, which is the mist idea, right? And then because you're in different times and different spaces, every library journal entry is labeled with a location. Library journal portal to Lake Superior. Questioning. As I sit here alone in the field overlooking Lake Superior, on a day when the waves break over the cliffs, I can't help but think I don't mind anymore that half the world burned from wildfires and war in most of the dimensions. Seagulls still coast over the birch trees here. No one seems to realize the power of a place uninhabited by people. The trees covering the porcupines have a power you can't imagine until you breathe it in. Of course, I would be a fool to think it will be like this forever. Humans will come here from the inner worlds. Magical humankind might be too big for this planet, too. Eventually, we will have to build another world all over again. Darcy, Annie, and I have so much in common, I'm not sure we should be friends. Deciding where to travel always ends in fights. Jordan helps me now with his hypnotic dreaming power to go deeper in my journeys. I didn't tell him in real life that he had entered my dreams and that I was in love with him. It hardly seemed appropriate, though I think he saw me blush more than once when he asked if I had missed him. I travel the earth plane and dark realms when Darcy is gone in the outer world, and I seek Deva allies to help me become strong enough that I can be a stronger magical human for my father. The Devas are the nature spirits. Then I can reach his level of spell song to balance the new world. I will see if Jordan can tell me more about what work he is doing in secret. The nature guardian spirits aren't telling us everything. I would be angry with them for withholding the truth, but it has occurred to me that they really might not know the full truth about what's happening either, or that the past histories might have changed. Who is in charge in this tangle of timelines spun out of control? Not me. I don't want the job of hero anymore. My mother is still struggling to speak again. I want my mother back, and I want to sleep in a place that doesn't have a sun and a moon in the sky at the same time and a constellation of a cricket just because I was daydreaming when the sky formed. Library Journal portal from Fire to Grasslands, Ontonagon, Porcupine Mountains. So these are locations in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan by Lake Superior, in case you're not familiar. They're sort of unusual names. Okay. Annie came down from the upper light realms today. Darcy keeps whispering in my ear when she approaches that we should force her to face her own shadow. I'm not sure she has one, frankly, and that might not be a good thing. I've never met a woman more transparently all light, almost like she's a dead leaf shot through with sunshine. You would think the upper realms would equate with the future, as the lower realms reflect the past, but I think she's hanging out with angels and ghosts, to be honest. She thinks the ascended master guides from human history will have the answers for us. I have been traveling across the plains and down riverbeds, but I can't find a way back to the brine pools from the plains. One access point you can use to escape Darcy if she comes out in the North Woods is the chimney in the library. That is where the book is hidden, in plain sight, where none of these clever guides would think to look for it. I thought so hard about looking for my father next to that fire every night after I came back, it created a connection with magical reality. You fill the fireplace with enough wood to heat the room, then kneel down next to the glowing embers and set your intention for where you want to go in the inner worlds. Fire is just as good as drumming to get your mind entrained to the right frequency to walk a pathway. When you're more experienced, you can create your own portals using that same frequency to come and go from your favorite places in the inner world. For now, use the library to stay a step ahead of Darcy. She is actively seeking more portals so she can destroy us and trap me here. Don't fall for any trap and never accept any fruit she tries to give you. I lied to Jordan. I left some doorways out into the outer worlds because I don't want to get stuck here, even with him. Okay. Let's see. I think we got a few more comments. Should be read in order. That's kind of what? Can't see that. Kind of cool. Okay, good. It's like, I hope so. I hope that's a good thing. It's so tiny. Can't see it. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Read very well. Thank you, Laurel. That's so sweet. Actually, speaking of, I just found out that I am mildly dyslexic. So now I can be proud of myself for not stumbling when reading, because I wouldn't have guessed it. I guess it wasn't severe, and I was masking it well enough that it took till now to figure that out. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's see. I want to introduce you to Jordan the Winged Fox, since that's who the book is about. So let me just make sure I've got this. Okay. So when I read about protrusions, which is kind of a funny word to say, that is out of that idea that Solange and Kung had when they were reuniting and making love and opening a portal of energy to into a new dimension of reality. When it's cooperative like that, it creates new doorways, it creates more power to travel more. But the protrusions are when you take over someone else's mind like a possession and travel through them without their consent. So that's kind of the gray area in this book, actually. Let me know what you think of that concept. It's a little creepy, I think. We've got nature guides spying on Solange through the glowing red eyes of like the forest creatures. So that's a protrusion that's spying on her in dimensions as she like travels around, so they can keep an eye on her. And then she figures out how to use it in order to travel, and Kung does as well. So when he jumped into a corpse, that was a protrusion of him diving through different consciousnesses of different beings in order to travel where they were, kind of like a, I guess you call it astral travel, maybe remote viewing, maybe, I'm not sure. Probably both. Okay, so the winged fox, Jordan, is what the book is named after because he is a nature spirit that is sort of a conglomeration of all different kinds of species. So he's got wings, he's a fox, he's magical, he's got this red mist he can blow on people to like put them to sleep. He's hypnotic. Nobody really knows what he's really up to. And he is the spirit that watches over the evolution of species. So he's really interested in Solange because she is one of these magical evolved humans who has developed these magical abilities to work with nature energies or travel through dimensions and shape the future of reality. So Solange has the ability to basically daydream up new species and stuff like that if she thinks about it. Okay, so chapter 14, and this will be the last bit that I read here. We'll do a few questions and maybe some readings of these poems from Silversides before I close. And if I lose my voice, excuse me. I have allergies. Okay, so chapter 14. This is a chapter where Kung and Solange, or excuse me, Jordan and Solange dive into Darcy's consciousness and use her to get to the underworld, which she did not expect. Thinking Darcy's the one who always thinks that she's like the baddest girl around, basically, and has very pessimistic ideas because some trees basically stomped out her parents, and she kind of hates nature a little bit. So, okay, chapter 14. Dying animals and trees piled up on each other week by week in Ontonagon. Palm trees grew next to cormorant nests in the old oaks, who swatted at them like flies in their hair. The tree spirits roamed over the hilltops like the wind, swinging along on their long knobby arms, watching over all the chaos of encroaching species and dimensional boundaries, shrinking down to smaller territory every day. Sometimes they created fences like castle walls with their roots to block new species from invading their space. But birds appeared midair and dropped from wherever they entered this dimension. The closer the dimensions came to Solange and Clarissa's dimensions, the more plants and animals cluttered the fields and woods. It was noisy. Solange told Jordan not to come back to the library with her. She knew it must be wrong to kiss your guardian, and Magdala had her spooked and looking at everyone's intentions twice. That's one of her nature guides. Still, she felt such fog around him that she almost couldn't stop herself from loving him. She had work to do that she would focus on. He could find her in the inner world if he wanted to see her, and make himself useful while time was running out on his precious species he wouldn't give up his secrets to save. Darcy knew something she didn't about the lower realms where the dead ones went. Solange had stopped seeing her as often in the outer world. To avoid telling her information she might use to build pathways that wouldn't be safe to create. Annie was sweeter, but that didn't mean she wasn't dangerous. Naive people are often conduits for darker forces if they are not careful to set boundaries. Solange became more careful what she told her about her travels. The truth was, she was training with Jordan to travel down to the deepest levels of the lower realms, far beyond where Darcy lived. Darcy followed her into a journey the day before she left her for good. Solange heard her footsteps behind her in her journey. Finally, she had had enough. Solange yelled at her and she backed off, but not into normal reality. Darcy jumped straight down through the ground into her dark realms. She looked at Solange like a scorpion that couldn't wait to strike. Thank the old gods it was summer now. Solange could sit on the deck of the library and watch the backwoods for any sign of movement. The birch spirits danced with the aspens and cherry trees this time of year, shaking off their leaves like confetti. Solange liked to bring a cup of mint tea and fill the fireplace with wood to warm up the place. Solange closed her eyes. It was time to daydream and to create. Come on, Jordan, she said. If you want to be useful, help me rescue Kung. Jordan appeared in her mind's eye next to her on the Lake Superior shore by the cave. The water was calm and cool. Clouds passed swiftly overhead. Fall was definitely coming. Except for the multiple suns in the sky heating the air, it would already frost at night. I'll help you create new animals in the grasslands that can survive the coming times if you will help me rescue Kung first, she said. Fair enough, he said. I have been meaning to help you fight the Sea Queen, but I didn't know how until recently. I found something. Where are we going? The Lake of Lost Souls, where Kung is stuck again, he said. She's back home, and she's channeling her power. It's time for us to stop her. I saw where she's storing the energy. How do we get there? Let's leave right now, she said. So much can go wrong, he warned. Don't worry so much, Jordan. I can handle the dark realms now. I have to do something before it's too late. She snapped her fingers. Let's look for her trail starting in Ontonagon, she said. Her webs pulled under a school of fish off the coast this morning. She must be close. Jordan took her hand. You should meld with my mind for this, he said. Middle and lower world travel in the outer world requires it. Wouldn't be anything we haven't done before, she joked, but she hesitated. I'm serious, he said. I have more than one form. This might be a little strange. I'm letting you in on more of me, my layers, by letting you do this. It's because I love you. She looked down at her flowing dress. Oh, that's right. I forgot I'm beautiful, she said. Beautiful here, she said. You're beautiful everywhere, he said. She sighed. Stop it, she said. If you wish, princess. Fine, let's get this over with. Jordan, meld, she said. She wasn't ready for the fox paws, the wings growing out of her back, layered over the tribal tattoos of his human male form. It took her a moment to get settled inside his body and mind. Ready? He asked her. Yes, I think so, she said. What's wrong? She had paused, caught her breath. Jordan, I think I love you. Say that to me when you're not me, smart mouth, he said. It's easy to identify with someone when you're inside their mind. Have it your way, she said, but I think I do. There was that floaty feeling again, like she was talking in her sleep. Why couldn't she shut up when she was around him? He was like truth serum personified. She loved Kung, not him. What was wrong with her? He blushed. He pulled his paws in closer to his chest. That means a lot to me, magical human, he said. Likewise. I think you're brilliant, Solange. Solange's heart warmed, but still she blushed in shame. Thanks, she said. They took off. They flew over the treetops, tangling across the ruins of the old town. Jordan directed them to the shop on Main Street. A shadow spread below them, causing Jordan to circle around before landing behind the shop. What's that? Solange whispered. Darcy stepped out of the grass covering Main Street. Her dark eyes flashed. She was all grown up, raven-haired and curvy in a form-fitting gown of green. She flew directly up to Jordan's face. Did you make any more monster trees, freak? Jordan took a step back. Solange took in Darcy's face. Her skin was turning a pale greenish yellow, mottled like a newt. I don't manage the trees, and I don't create much here, he lied. It's already perfect because of you, lovely dark lady. That's what's been so hard about deciding what to change. Oh, for Earth's sake, Darcy said, don't you know what kind of power you have at your fingertips? You could create anything you want. Anything. Even if it's only in the inner world. While you're here, you can live like a king. Like a god, as I do. She threw her hand down. The ground crawled with snakes. A river opened up across the road that dove down into a cave in the ground, into darkness. Water poured into the hole in a white water rapids. There, how about that for starters, she said. Easy. Stop it. Solange doesn't want more portals here, he said. She wants to live simply with her animal guides. Have Have you considered, Darcy dear, that if you spent more attention forming relationships with your animal devas, you might get further in your studies? We can be helpful, you know. Darcy leaned in. Who says my devas are animals? She chuckled. Solange gasped. What are they? She said in unison with Jordan. Darcy's grin was a bit too wide. Can I show you? She offered. Where? Jordan sniffed the air. In a lower plane of the dark realms, Darcy said, where Solange's lover is. She's lying, Solange said. Of course she is, he said, but that hardly matters, does it? Think like a fox, girl. Think like a wily wildcat. Lightning split the sky. Thunderclouds rolled in quickly from the west. Solange stood up straight within Jordan's mind. Jordan did not correct Darcy. I was told you were holding Kung's soul, he said. I didn't want to believe it. Darcy laughed. Really? She said. Oh, that's rich. What would I want with a soul? As she said those words, she cocked her head as if she were listening. Quick, she said. The queen is coming. How did you know the Sea Queen's whereabouts? Jordan said. Are you helping her? Grab power from the other guides and nature gods for yourself. Darcy flushed. At least she has a sense of purpose and direction. Unlike the rest of you witless wafflers, she said. I would go to the lowest level of the lowest world so I could see what's at the bottom of reality. What is all of this really about? Who is down there at the foundation of the world? What history could we dig up? What treasures from the past can be used to set our world right? Just think what we could create after all of this is destroyed. She held her hand above the ground, just as she had when she cast the river into her lower world realm. Well, are you coming? She asked. Of course, Solange said in unison with Jordan, and they jumped straight into Darcy's mind. Which she was not expecting. So, okay. Let's see. More comments. Thought I saw another one. Okay. All right, great. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of reading from Silversides, which is nature poetry from Lake Michigan, mixed with some health and family history poetry in Michigan. So if you have any preference, actually, let me know in the comments whether you like nature poetry, family poetry, anything like that, and it'll help me choose. I have some poems outlined for or marked for reading, but I've got a few I could pick from. So let's see. And I think that's about it for tonight. I'm going to test different platforms for live readings to see which one seems to work the best. So if you're interested in more, follow here, but you also might want to find me on YouTube and Instagram, because those are the next two platforms I'm going to do events or giveaways. Okay. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. Murder of Crows cover. If you get the paperback, this will not really show if you get the ebook because it kind of has a different cover, but there are two characters. There's Solange and Clarissa. And if you close the book, you can only see one of them. I thought that was really neat since they're interdimensional twins. Okay, so now I'll do a little reading from my upcoming poetry collection, Silversides, Nature Poetry from Michigan by Laura K. Cowan. Please note that Murder of Crows is by Lorelai, it's a fantasy pseudonym, and this is published, it's hard to see, but Laura K. Cowan, C-O-W-A-N. Both are published by Chronicle Press, though, just because this has some real-life stories in it. Okay. Another comment here. Nature's good. Awesome. Thank you, Laurel. I appreciate the interaction. Okay. We will start with some nature. Okay. Summer sunrise. Oh, actually, let me start with a little backstory here. Why am I doing all of this? I have been a writer for a very long time and got into fantasy and paranormal because of my own unusual out-of-body trauma, near-death experiences, and I just studied a ton of science and mythology and different types of stories to figure out like what happened to me on a scientific level, and found a bunch of healing. Also found a fascination with sort of symbolic, mythological, paranormal storytelling. And the reason I ended up going this direction was a health problem pushed me to get a beach house. Poor me, right? It's really kind of a strain initially on the family, but I have a health condition that responds very, very well to being by coastal areas that have sort of moderate climates. So just being over there, even doing the hard work of setting all this up, my health turned around. So I wanted to tell you that because I'm a fifth generation Michigander. I had lots of chances to move away and then never did because I just love being near Lake Michigan. It wasn't for the jobs that I stayed, that's for sure. My husband had a job here, but he's remote, so we really could go anywhere. We just have a kid in school, but and some family here. But yeah, I've just always been completely obsessed with Lake Michigan and how beautiful it is. And now it means even more to me because I realize the reason I absolutely love it and can't ever walk away is that it is truly like one of the best things for me. So if you're sensitive like me, maybe you'll be one of the first climate refugees to the Great Lakes. But yeah, that's kind of what happened to me. So this collection is my appreciation for nature that's long established, but now kind of doubly renewed. Summer Sunrise. August dew is so rare. Its sweet and sour scent of burnt grass, coated in fresh rain, reminds me there is only one day per year when summer slips into fall without any wind. I wonder how the starlings stay in flight. So that's a poem about the silence of, well, right now I guess it's mid to late September. It's often still sunny and warm on and off here in Michigan right now. It's like 80 today, which is warmer than usual, but very pretty, blue skies, yellow leaves. But I'm always just amazed at how quiet it gets around here when the birds are just barely beginning to migrate away. It's often what you don't hear that's most remarkable, I think, about nature in Michigan this time of year. And everywhere you go, it's different. I was just up north a couple weeks ago at a writer's conference. You can see some of the nature and some of the experience and writing prompts on YouTube, the Lorelai Author channel. Up there, you can take a video of a lake and like wonder if you have the audio on. It's just so quiet, and then you realize, oh yeah, I can hear, like one cicada, and I can hear like the ripple of the waves on the lake shore. But it's pretty good for calming down your nervous system if you need a break. Highly recommend. Okay. Let's see. Any more comments? No. Okay. Moon shines brightest. The moon shines brightest when there is no one there to see it. The night is happiest alone. January is the month for trees who don't need birds. Are they creatures like me who are content to eat on their own, just watching the woods? So again, that's kind of a poem about silence, because the other season that is quiet is January, when the moon comes out and kind of glints off the crusty snow in the woods, and you can kind of see everything even though it's night, but you can't hear much. It's just sort of like, You get the impression in the spring that nature loves to be raucous, but in January it's like, oh, no, we're all still here. We're all okay. Okay. I'm gonna do, let's see, do we have time for one more? Let's see. Okay, there's a good one. Okay, so here's a different flavor. This is more representative of the summer season. I wrote Yeah, I think that's a good one to finish with. I wrote a poem about Silversides house, Muskegon, the lake house that we were able to get last year. And again, just absolutely loved how peaceful it is, especially at the end of the summer where, like, it is kind of still now, even though it's late. It's just sunlight filtering through trees and seagulls calling distance at the beach and lawnmowers running. It's just lovely. It's fantastic. Okay, so I wanted to capture that feeling of like when you go to the beach and you're so tired that your body's like buzzing, but you get back to the beach house and there's still more fun, still more to do, but it's all like chill. Okay, Silversides house, Muskegon. Coconut sunscreen blows down a singing sand beach, an ocean of quartz and sun, flanked by beach houses, cuddled in the dune grass behind. Out over Lake Michigan, a shelf cloud merges with a second supercell. The sky boils and rolls, but all is silent except for seagulls calling out to a boy who won't share his juice box. Music from the outdoor restaurant blares in the distance beyond the pier, but far enough to disturb no one who rockhounds or tans on the broad beach. My umbrella keeps off the harsh June sun, except my legs, which will turn red and peel later tonight over campfire s'mores, sitting on this same damp, sandy towel, cooling off under the winking stars. Tonight, the moon will dance over the house, reflecting and flitting off whitecaps by Muskegon Lake boat launch, a block down the street. Just a short, breezy drive from the big lake. Here in the shadow of the old furniture factory, under the swaying elms on our back deck, we can grill the same burgers our grandparents fed us as kids. Not too much ketchup this time. Wipe watermelon juice running down our hands from our fading popsicles, and remember family and that we deserve as many of these evenings as they enjoyed. So, that is it. Let's see. Water is transfixing. Yes, Laurel, I agree. Absolutely. I once spent a couple of years just completely obsessed with studying water. Like, what is it? I don't get it. What is fire? What is water? You know, why does it wave like that? Why does it ripple like that? Because I just never got over it. So maybe I should do a whole collection that's more like just water. See how niche I can get. So, well, I am going to be wrapping up here. Thank you for coming. And yeah, thank you for making this first event for Lorelai a success. I appreciate it. It's so sweet of you to come. And stay tuned. I've got the Silversides poetry collection coming out November 1st. Another poetry collection coming soon. Hopefully Halloween to Christmassy, maybe. And then the fourth book, Ghosts of Detroit, of this fantasy series comes out in the spring. So I will be around. Just follow me on social media and let me know your favorite things and I'll write about them. So, thank you for coming. It was so nice to meet you. Aw, mesmerizing. That's so sweet. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Yep. We're on the same page, Laurel. Nice to meet you. Take care.